I woke up today and I felt poppy. From the first moment that I got up, I felt poppy, I felt bouncy, I felt athletic, strong, all those positive words. But it didn't work out for me today. Because of this feeling, I put on the Jalen Rose Indiana jersey, number 5. Once again, thanks to Trevor from Indiana for hooking me up with this jersey. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it, man. Like, it's got to be like, last time I said top 3 favorite jersey, I reckon it's top 2 now. This is the thing with NBA jerseys. Like, Jalen Rose was never one of my favorite players. But this jersey looks freaking amazing. And I keep thinking about Jermaine O'Neal, Ron Artest, Reggie Miller, was it Jamal Tinsley? Was that his name? The point guard, Foster, like all those boys, like back then, like a defensive team, which this NBA doesn't have anything like that now, obviously. But I remember that team, and every time I see that jersey that I've got now, I think of that time and I love it. So once again, man, Trevor, thank you for that. I'm kind of disappointed that I couldn't deliver on the thought that I had this morning. This feeling that I had, I felt like I could get 200 for 5. I know it's crazy. It's I'm skipping the 4th rep. I got, obviously many times 200 for 1. I got 200 for 2. I got 200 for 3 now. And today I thought maybe I could get 5. I just feel good. Couldn't get it. I got 3 again, and I wasn't happy with any of those reps. I'm still kind of thinking about it. I don't really know what happened. I don't know what's failing on me. I felt as though that my hips kept shooting back, and it kept, good morning squatting it. I felt like my quads were strong today, but it looks like the body, for whatever reason, was hiding my quads. The quads seems like were not as strong as I thought they were going to be today. So a lot of these lifts, a lot of these reps, actually all of the reps, felt like there was a lot of posterior chain involvement. Obviously, diagnosing these types of things is very, very difficult, very, very difficult. But I read an article in the last week or so from a guy that you guys probably have heard of. If you haven't, definitely look him up. His name is Greg Nuckols. This fella is a very brainy fella. Very, very clever guy. Uses a lot of physics, a lot of science, I guess biomechanics, anatomy, all that stuff in his writing. So you can, search Greg Nuckols and you can find his website, and he does a lot of articles and breaks lots of these concepts down to kind of like digestible, ways. So I read an article by him. I forget the title was, but basically what I wrote was Greg Nuckols squat quads. And what I was basically searching for is just a breakdown of what quads do, and and how do you identify if it's a quad weakness that you have in a squat. And what this article basically broke down, and what Greg was trying to say essentially, is that when you fail a squat, or when you're trying to assess a failing lift, let's say we're trying to assess my 200 for 3, and we're looking at the pattern of movement, and we're like, okay, clearly the hips are shooting back, we're using more posterior chain, so that means the quads are weak, they failed, and then the back starts to round, and so you can also say the back is weak. And you kind of get into these, chicken or the egg type of like runarounds where you're chasing your tail and trying to work out what's what. What Greg basically summarizes in this article is that when you fail a squat, it's because everything failed. You can't just look at the last thing that failed and go, it's the back that's failed, that's where the weakness is. No, the back is the last thing that failed. The quads failed before that, and then the back failed, and you saw kind of like this domino effect. And so I've been thinking about that, and it's kind of like if you see a good morning squat, that's because the posterior chain is the last man in defense, and you're seeing that symptom. But really, the quads have already failed. They couldn't deal with that weight, and that's why the body shifted into a position to favor the posterior chain because the quads were tapped out way before this sticking point. So once again, I felt strong today, but the squats looked, my reps today looked like there were not a lot of quads. So my quads were failing quite early. And then what I was seeing is a good morning squat, which was basically the last man in my defense. The last ditch effort was the posterior chain. And so maybe I didn't feel maybe I wasn't as strong as I felt. But it happened. You know, I had a late shift yesterday, so I basically went to bed like at midnight last night, something around that. Woke up at 9 o'clock, slept all the way through. It was a Sunday, the kids were with me. They didn't wake up either before 9 o'clock, so I had a really good sleep. Woke up and I'm like, damn, had bacon and eggs with the kids on toast, did all of that. I was like, man, I feel really energetic. I'm gonna go to the gym today. And that's when the whole idea about the Jalen Rose jersey came on, like for 5 reps, right? But it didn't work out today. Still feel good that I can get 3 reps. It's more so that I don't like how those reps eventuated. I felt like I wasn't stacked. I was kind of like, the balance was way forward. But I had a knee-jerk reaction after looking at the videos of today, and I kept thinking to myself, my back is weak, my back is weak, my back is weak. And then I had to continuously catch myself and say, no, the back is, let's say, the back also was starting to fail, but the first thing that failed was the quads. And what Greg says in this article as well is that you should always think about the whole system, not just the last thing that failed. So the quads were weak, the glutes were weak, the back basically was weak, everything was weak. So, this is where I have to catch myself and go, okay, no, stay the course, keep attacking the quads. Quads. So I think me a year ago, or me even 6 months ago, would be like, okay, I need some RDLs. I need some good mornings. That back was caving, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, this is not, this is just Greg's take and whatever. It makes sense to me. Like, many other takes made sense to me. I'm trying to think of the guy. Sometimes my brain fails me. Previously, I've spoken about another way to think about what's weak on a squat. Smith, what's his name? From Juggernaut Training Systems. Oh man, my brain. Can't think of him. Last name Smith. Chad Wesley Smith. Maybe 2 years ago now, I read a piece by him where he was basically saying that if you can't grind a squat, your back is weak. So there's one way of looking at it. If you can't grind, your back is weak. Because as soon as your quads give out, you fail. But if you have a strong back, you'll be able to kind of like good morning that crap up or deadlift the weight up, right? So that was kind of like the distinction that he made. And I kind of carried that all the way through last year. And I basically said, look, I can't grind, so my back is weak, so I pursued that. Now I've read Greg Knuckles' article, and I'm like, okay, yes, your back might be failing as well in the lift, but that is probably the last thing that failed. Your quads have already failed. So your quads are also weak because that was the first line. So first line always that fails is quads, and then it goes to the posterior chain. That's kind of the pattern. And so I don't know what model you like. I don't know how you want to think about these things, but I'm going to stay the course this whole year chasing the quads and see how it goes. I mean, so far it's going really, really well. And for whatever reason today, I felt like every freaking rep on the 200 was like, hips shoot back and it's just all posterior chain. So anyway, I felt in tune with my quads, but I just couldn't get them to work. Anyway, I'm still thinking about 200 for 5. A lot of you guys are saying, why don't you do 205? Why don't you do 210? No. I want to get 200 for 5. Damn, I want to get 200 for 10. I really want to smash the living crap out of 200. I want this weight to be with me the whole year. That's kind of how I'm feeling, man. I really, really, really like what's happening right now. I don't want to overreach. I just want to play with 200. And if I have to play with 200 all year, I'm happy. Play with 200. Keep chasing another little rep every week, every fortnight, whatever. Let that be the linear progression, right? Auto-regulated linear progression, if you want to define it like that, where I'm literally chasing another rep, another rep, another rep. If I could get, I know this is absolutely nuts and it's probably a stupid thing for me to say, but let's say, what are we now? Almost April. If I can get 200 for 10 by the end of the year, which is not going to happen. I mean, 200 for 10, if you put that into a calculator, you're looking like a freaking maniac. Probably 240, a 240 one rep max, if you believe in those calculators. Essentially, if you can do 200 for 5, you're looking at a 220 type of squat. So if you had another 5 freaking reps on 200, you're looking at, I don't know, 230, 240 at least. That's a strong individual. If you can rep out 200 for 10 reps, you're a strong guy. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, let's just keep on repping out 200s. Obviously, I can't try to do that every single day because it's really taxing or whatever, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. So for all of you guys that are wondering, why aren't you kind of progressing this thing? It's because I'm basically working on the volume, and when I'm ready, add a bit more, add another rep. So this is the second time I've hit 200 for 3, and I really want to get that 200 for 4. I would have tried it again, I would have tried another rep today, but the third rep looked like a piece of crap, and so felt like a piece of crap, and I didn't want to entertain that. I don't want him to look ugly like that. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for you. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.